What's going on, guys? So I was called out here to replace a starter. It seemed like a starter issue on this car. This is a 2007 Nissan Pathfinder. So when I showed up, had the owner crank the car, had my battery jumper on it just to be sure. Cranked the car was in park this time. I made sure I was in park. So I heard the usual click at the starter. So to do a voltage drop test, I didn't want to break out all my instruments, to be honest. So I kind of was lazy, and that will prove to have bitten me. Basically, what I mean by that is this: I hear the click. It sounds like a bad starter. Normally, you don't stop there. You do a voltage drop test on the ground side and on the power side to make sure you got enough power going on and the ground is good. I didn't do that. Instead, I went to trying to see the signal wire just to make sure I'm not just hearing things. It's lit up, so I know I'm getting my signal out there. It must be a bad one, especially when you have a setup like this. When the starter is at the bottom, it's kind of wonky, you know. Put a long wire from here all the way down. Sometimes you're like, I don't want to do that. That's the day, and it just happened to backfire. So anyhow, I went to the extent of even spinning the engine, which was very difficult to get to anyway. So 19mm long, deep socket, I spun the engine by hand. I'm like, okay, the engine is seized up. I can hear a strong click out there, so I'm not sure, but it seems like the starter may be stuck. Okay, let's call the starter. Owner goes to AutoZone. I take the starter out, brings the new starter in, put it on, crank the car, same stuff. What's going on? Now I come out and say, okay, well, let's check everything else that I did. Check the signal wire again, check everything again, make sure my connections are tight. This is a Nissan, so they usually have those fuses at the B plus terminal. Check all of those fusible links, everything looks to be perfect. So I said, I must have a voltage drop somewhere then. That's the only thing that makes sense, because I bench tested the old starter and it worked. I'm like, whoa, okay, so the old starter is good. The engine's not seized up, I spun it by hand. What is it? Voltage drop. So I got out my power probe, which is not a power probe. This is made by Hotel. I'm not going to promote this tool at all because it's flimsy. It does a job. It's a lot cheaper than the power probe, but it's flimsy. Anyway, so I got on the power side. I went to the starter, had the owner crank it B plus. No voltage drop at all. I'm reading 12.8. I did the same test on the transmission bell housing for the ground, and guess what? Voltage drop up to 7 volts. That was our problem. So as you see right now, I got just a jumper. This is just my jumper cable that I jump all the way back to the case right there, the bell housing. Came back out here, cranked the car started. So owner's now going back to trying to return that starter and get us a ground cable, and we're going to try to fix this ground problem. I don't know which one is broken, but either way, we're going to just make a new ground somewhere, and hopefully that solves our issue and we're done. So this is just like I said, beware. Always be diligent. Do all your testing before you call something. I know we get into these routines. I've done it, you've done it. Be honest. That's how we check things usually. Just 1, 2, 3, we're like, hey, we call it. Because 90% of the time, it is true. This is the 10%. There you go, guys. That was a fix. I ran a new ground cable from the battery down to the starter bolt, actually. That's how I routed it. Show you right here, and car is starting fine now. And the thing about it is, the customer says he's already traded in this car. He was just wanting it to run so he can take it to the dealership. So job well done. Check your P's and Q's.